Joined as we are every Monday to recap the NFL weekend by Adam Schefter. And Adam, first question out of the gates. If that game was played a billion more times from the 6-minute mark on, how many games did the Broncos win?
Whatever is one less than a billion. I don't know what that number is.
I mean, it's one of the most insane things. We're talking about it all morning, Adam, and I still don't know how they won.
What is the number one less than a billion? If you do that and ask AI, they would probably give you the number. And that would be the number because, look, if we go back and look at it, I mean, we could just break it down numerically, right? I'm just going through my notes because I was going over it this morning with somebody. Okay, so here's the deal. This, since the 1970 merger, there have been 3,677 games where a team has been trailing by 18 points or more in the final 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. It's happened 3,677 times. And there have been two teams, including yesterday's Broncos, that overcame that deficit in the final 6 minutes of the fourth quarter to pull out a victory. The other one, I remember it distinctly because I was living in Denver at the time, and I remember going to bed and waking up and hearing that the Indianapolis Colts with Peyton Manning on Monday Night Football beat the Buccaneers in Tampa. And I'm like, what? How could that have happened? Right? Even I was in the ESPN cafeteria this morning, and this Giant fan told me that he shut off the game when they were up by 19. And he put it on this morning. He found out that the Broncos won. He's like, what? And I think that's the reaction that people have. The game was over on numerous occasions, and then it wasn't. And the Giants had them where they wanted, and then they didn't. And then they put it back away, and then they didn't. Mm-hmm. And somehow Denver found a way to pull out a game that I think will go down as one of the great collapses in football history, one of the great comebacks in football history. I know John Elway authored a lot of memorable moments in Denver, but there aren't a whole lot of them that are any more memorable than that one.
Yeah. Adam, I was telling folks, John Elway, his rookie season, scored 3 touchdowns. He led 3 touchdown drives, overcoming a 19-0 deficit to beat the Colts his rookie season. But that game pales in comparison to this. And all the games we talk about, right, all these comeback games, usually when comeback rally games, the team that's down comes back, takes the lead, and wins. And that's how it works. But what made yesterday different, Adam, is that the Broncos came back, took the lead, and then gave the lead right back in the final minute and then regained it in the final seconds. I mean, that's what made it distinct.
Well, how about the fact here, again, all these little things that, like a little work and stats that were coming in. How about the Giants' 2 missed extra points, right? Yeah. Again, we're talking about history. Jude Mikitomne, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, Mikitomne. Jude Mikitomne is the only kicker in the last 40 years to miss 2 extra points, neither of which was blocked, in a game in which his team lost by 1 point. Now, again, incredible. Like, we go on and on. You want another wild one? The Denver Broncos scored on the day in which they put Demaryius Thomas into the Ring of Fame. We lost Demaryius Thomas when he was how old?
33.
Mm-hmm. 33. How many points did the Broncos score in the fourth quarter?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Amazing.
33.
That's almost like the universe talking.
Based on your extra points, though, what's crazy about this game is that New York Giants scored 5 touchdowns. The Denver Broncos scored 4 touchdowns. The Broncos added 2 two-point conversions. They missed 2 extra points. You do all the math. That's how the Broncos win by 1. I mean, it's extra points. It's conversions. One got them, the other didn't.
Yeah, it's just all these. How about this one? How about the fact that Sean Payton throws a penalty that moves them that much closer to where Jackson Dart can dive in and gets in, and the Broncos get the ball back with 40 seconds. What if they had run an extra play and the clock had run out?
Yeah. It's amazing. Adam, we've been trying to figure this out. We started the program today going, I don't know what to do with this football team. I mean, if a team is 2-5, 3-4, maybe even 4-3, and they have some quirky things, okay, you don't know what to make of them because the things just don't go together. But this is a 5-2 team. They're tied for the fourth best record in the league, tied for second best record in the AFC, and I don't know who the hell they are. And I don't even know that they know who the hell they are because Pat Surtain just said, hey, man, I've given up hope. Bo Nixon, I was thinking about how I'm going to explain getting shut out at home, which has never happened to the Denver Broncos. I mean, this is what do you make of them? How do we do this? Help us.
Well, here's what I would say. They did their best to lose in London to the New York Jets, who haven't won a game. They did their best to lose to a Giant team that I think actually, and I told you guys this last week, I think that these two rookies, the quarterback and the running back, have just totally changed the image, perception, and reality of this football team to where I really think the Giants are a playoff caliber team now. They may not make it because they've blown a couple of games here and they've fallen behind the eight ball, but I think the Giants are a dangerous, talented team right now with a lot of good players on their team. Denver did its best to lose the last two games. It survived in both. Look, I think 7 games into the season, all you're trying to do is stack together wins and give yourself a chance to get better as the year goes on, because how you're playing on October 20th won't be necessarily how you're playing December 20th. All you want to do is give yourself a chance to get to the dance, to be in the postseason, and then take your chances from there. Yeah, this team right now is flawed, and it's not playing as well as it should, but it's winning, and they're in position to be in the thick of the playoff race. And they've got a problem in the division in that the Chiefs look like the best team in football right now, and they look like they're going to be hard to catch. But you know what? Broncos have to play them twice. So let's see if Denver can bring its A game to one of those games against the Chiefs. Let's see if the Broncos can find a way to upset the Chiefs, because I think it would be an upset if the Broncos upset them for the AFC West title, because the Chiefs have owned that, and because they're operating now and playing at the type of level you'd want your team to be playing at. But it is only October 20th, so there's plenty of time for Denver to turn it around still.
Adam Schefter. All conversations with Adam are brought to you by Colorado Credit Union. Love where you live, love where you bank at Colorado Credit Union. Join at ccu.org. Adam, it's kind of a choose-your-own-adventure book today. You can look at the end of that game and be like, hey, what a credit to a gritty win where you overcame a whole bunch of nonsense and you found a way to get the dub. You can also look at it this way. What the hell was that for 3 quarters? And if you're looking at this game like you were sitting at the desk with Rex Ryan and Alex Smith and Damian Woody this morning on Get Up, I mean, what is sort of the takeaway? Is it, wow, I can't believe they did all that in the fourth quarter? Or is it more of they got issues because of what we saw for the first 3?
I think it's a little bit of everything right now, where you can't just wipe away in a race the way that Denver played for 3 quarters. And that's what we're talking about. Right now, the Broncos are a flawed team. They are flawed. What's their record, though?
5-2.
5-2?
Yeah, 5-2. So they are, you know what? Like, again, you'd much rather be a flawed 5-2 team than a improving, talented 2-5 team like the New York Giants. There's a 3-game difference, but that's a long ways.
Sure.
Now, again, the Broncos have a lot of issues to sift through and sort out, and they play like that, they're not going to go very far. But again, it's October 20th, plenty of time. So they're doing what they should be doing. They're in a spot that they should be in. Again, nobody can really love the way they're playing. They're not playing great football, but they're playing winning football right now, which is all that matters.
What's the blowback in the Big Apple right now? Because obviously in Denver, I mean, we're celebratory. What do they want? Whose skin do they want in New York?
Well, you're talking about an all-time loss, and I was on SportsCenter this morning with Herm Edwards, and I said to him, I go, Herm, you had to play, and I remember when I was a little boy, I think it would have been 1978, you recovered the fumble. And for those of you who are listening today and aren't old enough to remember, Vic, you would remember it.
Oh,
the Giants had the game won. I don't remember how many they were winning by, but all they had to do was run out the clock. And I learned something from Herm this morning that I never knew before. And on this particular play, Joe Pisarcik, the Giants quarterback, handed it off. I think it was to Larry Zonka, believe it or not, and fumbled the ball. They ran into each other, fell down. The ball bounced up. Herm Edwards scooped it up and the Eagles scored in what was one of the most improbable victories of all time. And Herm's like, that's how the victory formation was created, right? I'm like, I didn't realize that. After that game, quarterbacks started taking knees rather than handing off to the running back to run out the clock because Herm Edwards recovered a fumble against the New York Giants. Now, I remember, like I said, I think I was in 4th, 5th, 6th grade, whatever it was, but I remember the next day the Giants fired their head coach. I believe it was John McVay at the time, and they made household changes. Now, I don't think that that's happening today, but I do think that, a loss like that has lasting effects, and you have to see the fallout of it. That's a loss that we'll see how this team responds. Maybe they're young enough and confident enough and brash enough with Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo that they don't care much, and they go into Philadelphia and they win on Sunday. But I think a loss like that stays with you. It's an all-time loss. Again, how many Colts-Buccaneers games do I remember? I remember, even though I fell asleep at the end, that Peyton Manning came back in that game. How many times do you remember a fumble game that Herm Edwards recovered a fumble? Well, I think everybody will remember for a long time the 19-0 deficit that the Broncos overcame in the fourth quarter to win a game that nobody ever thought that they would win.
Adam, I know a lot of Giants fans want to blame the defense and the coordinator, but I would argue, based on that victory formation, that if you simply took victory formation at the 5-minute mark when Denver's trailing 26-16, rather than trying to push the ball up the field as Jackson Dart did and got intercepted, if you took 3 victory formations and punted it back, you have a much better chance of winning that game.
Oh, look, I think you look at it, and there's a lot of ways that you could view this. There are so many times where I thought the Giants messed up. Rex Ryan highlighted the fact this morning that they were rushing 3 players at the end. Like, the strength of the Giants team is the pass rush. Their resources are on their line. They have great players in Brian Burns and Abdul Carter and Kayvon Thibodeau and Dexter, and they basically, and they got great pressure on Denver throughout the game. And then when it matters, they drop 8 people back into coverage, which Brian Burns is all mad about.
Yep.
They have, with 5 minutes to go, with a young quarterback, they have Jackson throw the ball like Alex Smith was talking about. How about like an RPO? How about where the quarterback's rolling out and running and keeping the ball and not having him thrown to the middle of the field and to cover? Like, there are a lot of things they could have done. How about, again, I'll come back to the kicker. The kicker missed an extra point last week. What if they activated Younghoe Koo from their practice squad? He was on their practice squad all week long and went with a veteran kicker rather than an inexperienced kicker who missed an extra point last week. There are a lot of things that they could have done. And I'm sure that they'll be thinking about for a long period of time.
I'm sure they probably will. Last thing for me, great blue suit today, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Really good stuff. We've been talking here, Adam, and we'll probably get into this as the weeks go on. But the offense that Sean Payton wants to run and wants to call versus the offense that Bo Nix is best at, there seems to be a little bit of a dichotomy going on here in Denver. I don't know. I mean, and that's his handpicked guy. I'm sure Payton's always going to win. But right now it appears they have a bit of an issue with how things should get done, at least for a while. And then once Bo kind of goes crazy, he goes crazy because they let it all hang out. How quickly could that get fixed, do you think?
Well, maybe they learned something from that. But I do think, again, Sean Payton knows offensive football. He's pretty savvy, and Bo Nix is a smart quarterback. But I do think somehow, some way, that when Bo Nix is on the move and running around and being a threat to run, I think he's averaging 9 yards per carry. That seems to be when their offense has a little bit of bounce to it. And I don't know how they do that, and they're much smarter at offense than me. But somehow you got to find a way to make sure that the defense is accounting for Bo Nix's legs and the rushing threat that he brings, because when he runs the football, he's dangerous. You just got to do that at the right times and see if they can find out that there's a balance between what Bo's looking for, Sean's looking for, and also, like we're talking about the effects that a loss like this will have on the Giants. I also wonder what's the effect that a win like this has on the Broncos. Like, is this something that jumpstarts a team that hasn't been playing well, even though it has a 5-2 record? Do they bounce off that? Like they get some improvement, get a spark from that, or do they waste it and squander that and not improve and don't play better football from here? So I guess we'll find that out too.
Adam, last thing real quick. Is the Mike McDaniel experiment salvageable in Miami?
I mean, the owners are going to be a little bit patient. I don't know how much more patient. I don't expect him to make a change today. So he'll have the rest of the season, but I don't think anybody that has watched that team feels like there's a whole lot of hope for them turning it around right now.
It's Adam Schefter. ESPN joins us every single week. Adam, always appreciate the time. Thank you, buddy. We'll talk next week.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great Monday.
All conversations with Adam are brought to you by Johnson Auto Plaza. You get selection, service, and incredible savings on Ram, Jeep, Chevy, Buick, and GMC all at one location. Experience the power of the plaza at Johnson Auto Plaza.